Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Balaba Girivare Hari Gopijana Balaba Girivare Hari Yasodnandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodnandana Prajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivare Hari Yasodnandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodnandana Prajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavakacharya Stotara Satashi Shimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pavakacharya Asto Sarasata Shishamad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Shlidas Thakur Ki Jai Ram Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakunda Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavana Dham Ki Jai Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai Shri Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Shri Gokul Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Radha Golokanand Giriraj. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So today we are most fortunate to continue with our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are in the 10th. Is it better now? Yeah, otherwise people won't hear me. That's good now. So now we are on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's chapter 43, and we are on text number 34. And this is the killing of Kamsa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nityam Pramudita Gopa Vatsa Pala Yata Sputam Vanishu Mala Udena Kridantash Charanyanti Daha Nityam Pramudita Gopa Vatsa Pala Yata Sputam Vanishu Mala Udena Kridantas Charayantikaha Nityam Pramudita Gopa Vatsapala Yatasputam Vaneshumala Udena Kridantas Charayantigaha Nityam Pramudita Gopa Vatsapala Yatasputam Vaneshumala Udena Kridantas Charayanti Gaha. Devotees, Nicham Pramudita Gopa Vatsapala Yutas Bhutam Vaneshumala Udena Kridantas Charayanti Gaha. Nicham Pramudita Gopya Vatsapala Yutas Bhutam Vaneshumala Udena Kridantas Charayanti Gaha. Nicham Pramudita Gopa Vatsapala Yatas Bhutam Maneshumala Udena Kridantas Charayanti Gaha. Nicham Pramudita Gopa Vatsapala Yatas Bhutam Vaneshumala Udena Kridantas Charayanti Gaha. Nicham, always, Pramuditaha, very happy. Gopaha, cowherds. Vatsapalaha, tending the calves. Yatas Bhutam, obviously. Vaneshu, in the various forests. Malayudena, with wrestling. Kridantaha, playing. Charayanti, they graze. Gaha, the cows. Translation. It is well known the cowherd boys are always joyful as they tend their calves, and that the boys playfully wrestle with each other while grazing their animals in the various forests. You can repeat. It is well known the cowherd boys are always joyful as they tend their calves, and that the boys playfully wrestle with each other while grazing their animals in the various forests. Purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Here, Chanura explains how the two brothers came to be expert at wrestling. And then we'll read the next two commentaries by Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami. Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur is the same. He's saying this verse explains how they became expert at wrestling, because when they were tending the cows and going out, they were wrestling with each other. Then Jiva Goswami says, but cowherds, this is a quote, but cowherds like us do not know such things, since we are constantly herd cows. This is Krishna and Balaram speaking. And then the cowherd, starting with herding calves by that method, herd the cows and play at wrestling. Sukadev records their harsh words meant to mock the boys. The cowherds, actually herders of the cows, Yadabahat, herd animals related to cows, Yatavat, and play at wrestling. The wrestlers say this is a joke. Say this as a joke. The word Yatavat should be understood twice. So we're going to read Sanatana Goswami's, and then we'll comment, but I just wanted to mention that we see here that the wrestlers they're actually mocking the cowherd boys. They're being sarcastic, they're mocking them. And then, as I further will explain, we'll see how the goddess Saraswati always turns everything around to actually praise the cowherd boys. Sanatana Goswami, 10:43-34. Quote, but cowards like us do not know such things, since we are constantly herd cows. The cowards protect the cows. They clearly play. Even those who heard the calves play or ga refer to cows-related animals. The cowards start by herding calves and play. That is clear. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtashtarine Om Gana Timarandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada, unto my spiritual master, unto my Shiksha Guru, and to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And I pray to Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, and the previous acharyas to allow me to share something on this very beautiful verse. So every verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam is just full of nectar. It's like in code, and we just need to unlock that code to enter into that world. So when I read this, I was meditating a lot on this verse. And I'm going to read a little bit from Gopal Champu today, which is always very descriptive. So when I read this, it was very much a visual. It was very much a visual because here we know from our previous verses that Krishna and Balaram, Krishna had been away, so kind of catch you up also. Krishna and Balaram, they had been, taken to Mathura by Akrura. And then at this point, they had entered into the city. Kamsa had arranged for this major arena event to take place. And his motive, of course, was that he wanted to kill Krishna because he knew that Krishna was supposed to kill him. So he wanted to kill him, although he had so many signs that this was impossible. And there were so many signs we spoke that he could have surrendered before and just like stopped this whole process. But he was just bent on going forward with his plan. Although all the demons he had sent had been slain by Krishna and Balaram, who were just innocent boys in the forest herding the cows. So we know while Krishna and Balaram were herding the cows and calves, so many demons sent by Kamsa had been slain. And then, so Krishna is brought to Mathura, and the visual is so beautiful because he's very playful, he's very joyful. So what really struck me at this particular point when I was reading this was that this was kind of like a junction. I was speaking with Irma about it yesterday, almost like a Sanja, because you have Krishna's pastimes in Braj, his beautiful pastimes, loving pastimes with his friends, even with the birds and the animals, with his parents, with the gopis. So many, wonderful, wonderful pastimes. And then he's leaving. He's coming to Mathura, where he'll have his Mathura pastimes. And he started his Mathura pastimes. But at the same time, he's just coming from Vrindavan, and his cowherd boys are with him. And so they're still very much in that joyful mood of Braj and that joyful mood of being a cowherd boy. And as we know, they stole the clothes from the washerman. Krishna managed to chop his head off because in a previous incarnation he had caused problems for Ram. So, and then they dressed themselves very, very beautifully. And we know he straightened out Kubja, who fell in love with him, and received beautiful garlands from Sudama, the garland maker. And so Krishna is preparing himself for this act that's going to take place on the stage. So as an expert actor, Krishna is dressed beautifully for the part. He has arranged his turban in such a way that just by seeing his beautiful form, by seeing his beautiful arms, by seeing the beautiful clothes that him and Balaram are dressed in, as he starts walking through the city, everybody's seeing him. And they're all becoming overwhelmed with prema. They're all just like amazed. How beautiful is this Krishna? How beautiful is this Balaram? And they're all talking with each other about it. And they're all discussing how beautiful is Krishna and Balaram. And at the same time, they're discussing the different pastimes, the different slaying of the different demons. So as he gets closer, we know that um, Kamsa's plan was to have him stomped on by this elephant, and then he ends up ripping the tusks out of the elephant, and him and Balaram are walking in with these tusks on their shoulders, and they're covered with blood, which would normally be gory, but because it's Krishna and Balaram, it's very beautiful. So the scene is becoming more and more intense, and Kamsa's hearing about it, and he's becoming more and more in anxiety, and all the residents of Mathura are like, they're just like amazed because most of them are very attracted to Krishna. So they're amazed by his beauty, and they've heard all about him, and they're feeling so hopeful. He's come. Krishna has come. Balaram has come. So there's so much action and commotion and emotion. Maharaj always talks about emotion, that there's motion in the spiritual. So there's so much emotion that's going on. And Kamsa is like, I can imagine he's getting like worst stomach ache from stress, Like here he's coming, and he's just getting more and more tight and stressed out. And Kamsa's demons are on his side. They're still trying to encourage him. This is no problem. We'll be fine. So as he enters near to the arena, when he gets near the arena, at that point, everybody in the stadium, they're seeing the beauty of Krishna and Balaram, and they're talking about all the different pastimes. And then Kamsa and his followers are becoming really upset, so they're trying to play the music really loud because they don't want anyone to hear how Krishna and Balaram are being praised. So there's this whole dynamic that's taking place of the loud music and Krishna and Balaram. And then Krishna knows he's going to be doing this beautiful act. And so he's appearing very gorgeous to everyone. And he's looking at everyone. And then all the residents are feeling, how could this be? These are these big wrestlers, these gigantic wrestlers. These are just tender young boys. So there's this whole conversation that's taking place. And the cowherd boys coming with Krishna from Vrindavan, this is so fun to them. We've come to the city. Krishna's taking us sightseeing and in the big city, like people that live in the country, they get excited when they go to New York for the first time. So it's like we're in the big city, we're in Mathura. Everything is so exciting and wonderful. We've come for, like people go to New York for a cultural program. We've come for a cultural program here, and there's going to be this big wrestling match like that. So all this is led up to this intense point right now where Krishna and Balaram are facing Chanura. And here he is, Chanura and Mostika, they're coming face to face with Krishna and Balaram. But because they have this asura bhav, this mentality of envy, immediately they stop mocking them. Oh, who do you think you are? You're not young boys. Actually, we know that because all the different things that you did. But then they just make fun. Oh, Kamsa wants you to wrestle. And Maharaj spoke about how one must follow the orders of a good king and what a good king is. So think your king, our king wants you to wrestle. So if you wrestle with us, you'll please our king. He'll be very pleased. Like we don't know how pleased Kamsa's really going to be, but they're saying he'll be really pleased, and you should wrestle with us. This is the king's order, And then he's mocking them. How'd you learn to wrestle anyway? You were just playing out there in the fields with those cows, So the thing that really struck me the most, which I spoke with Irma about yesterday, was like Mushika and Chandra, they're thinking they're great. Now they're just big hunks, They've just been trained to wrestle. Their brain is probably like the size of a pea. Like sometimes you have like an elephant or it has a small brain. Well, not elephant, but they're different living entities that their brains is very small. So here Krishna is the source of all brilliance, the source of all intelligence, and Balaram. And Chanara and Mustika, they're thinking that because they have strength, that their strength is stronger than spiritual strength. They're thinking by their own strength that they will abolish God. And this is actually the Mayavadi philosophy. because they're thinking that by my own intelligence, I will figure it all out. I will rise to the highest platform, and I won't need God. I'll just merge. I won't need. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. But getting back on the point, getting back on the point. But what is the reality? The reality is that Krishna and Balaram are the source of all beauty, the source of all strength. And where do they come from? They come from Vrindavan. And what is more glorious than Vrindavan and the cows? What is more opulent, more glorious? What is the more beautiful than Vrindavan and the cows? And Mushtika and Chandra, they're just coming from the jungle. They're like jungle personalities. So they're making fun of Krishna and Balaram learning to wrestle from the cows. But actually, Saraswati turns it around that it's so glorious. How glorious it is that Krishna and Balaram were taking the cows out and herding the cows. How fortunate they were, and how much Krishna loves the cows. So I wanted to just read a little bit from Gopal Champu about Krishna taking the cows out, which will help us to see how glorious it is. So it's from a previous chapter that we all had studied in the Bhagavad. And then I'm also going to read in Gopal Champu about Chandra and Mustika. Well, actually, it refers to that. I'll read first about the killing of Kamsa, and then I'll go back to reading about the cows. Krishna and Balaram, looking splendid in the clothing looted from the king's wardrobe the previous day, with the tusks of the recently killed elephant in their hands, their anklets and bracelets sprinkled with its blood and mada, came before the king with their friends of similar beauty. Courage is the ornament of men by which the despicable becomes praiseworthy. The bodies of the two, sprinkled with mada and blood from the elephant's tusk, looked beautiful in Kamsa's assembly. His enemies saw him as fearful. The neutral party saw him as neither fearful nor giving joy. His sympathizers saw him as a form giving joy and attained various special states. According to their individual moods, Krishna strongly experienced those feelings simultaneously. So here we see how Krishna is simultaneously always reciprocating with his devotees. How can one describe his supreme sweetness at that time, because of which, even while Kamsa was living, thousands and thousands of people praised him in the assembly. So the people, normally they're so fearful of Kamsa, but just seeing Krishna and Balaram, they forgot all fear, and they out loud began to praise. It's just like when devotees go on Sankirtan, they might go to a place that's inimical, but when they're hearing and chanting, they forget all fear and they feel great joy. How can one describe his power? The Devatas considered Krishna, though living, to be dead from being merged in the power. The two praiseworthy boys with broad chests entered the arena while holding the tusks. They looked like two elephants with water lily stems in their trunks and gazed at Kamsa while denigrating him with words like, "What is he anyway?" Turning their backs to him, they then looked around. So Krishna and Balaram, they had their nerve to just even turn their back on Kamsa. Krishna came close and looked at him again. Oh, he is following half the path to Swarga. It is not too unfortunate to send him there. Laughing, he played with his friends and exchanged news. So this is what I mentioned before. He still has so much of that Vrindavan mood where he's here with his friends and he's having fun and he's looking at them and the boys are getting all excited. Colored red with blood of the dead elephant, Krishna appeared like Shiva at the time of the destruction of the universe. Seeing him, Kamsa's effulgence was destroyed. "Who are those two?" he asked. His attendant said, "Those are the two." Kamsa said, "What is in their hands?" Why are their bodies painted? They all said, those are the trunks of Kolyapida. They are covered with the elephant's blood. Kamsa said in pride and anger, Ah, O sinful people, it is impossible that they can be the subject of words. When the attendants no longer answered, the effulgence of the two boys, the effulgence of the two boys informed Kamsa, Oh, Kamsa, if you were strong, that is a misfortune. Why did you put the elephant at the gate and not your body? If you think those tusks are the best, why did you not grab them? By their parents, they hinted this to Kamsa. He killed Putana and overturned the cart demon. He destroyed the whim demon and uprooted the Arjuna trees. Describing Krishna's Raj pastimes, the people of Mathura saw Krishna before them. He melted the hearts of those looking and the hearts of others who heard the words. See today what will happen. The woman of Swarga became submerged in bliss by simultaneously attempting to open their eyes wide to see the complete forms of the two boys, to move their tongues to taste the full sweetness of his descriptions, to widen their nostrils, to let their complete fragrance enter their hearts, taking pride in the festival of attaining the boy's fragrance, and to throw up their hands to embrace him. Music also sounded. He who is satisfied with praise was praised in this way. So there's a very beautiful aroma that Krishna has and Balaram has. And that's why even sometimes in Krishna's Braj pastimes, like when some of the elders would come, they would say, I know Krishna's been here. I was listening yesterday to one of your audiobooks with Doug and Madhava, and they was like, I know Krishna's been here. I can smell the fragrance. So Krishna smells so beautiful that even the Desians on the heaven, the planet, were smelling it. His special power surpassed all conceptions continually. Hearing of Krishna's powers, Kamsa had first sent the wrestlers, but the wrestlers ended up praising him by using critical words. So the wrestlers were thinking they were being critical because they were envious, they were being nasty, but they were actually words were changed by Saraswati, goddess Saraswati, and they were praising him. At that time, most cruel Churnur spoke. He addressed it to us, son of Nanda and Rama, without respect and without mentioning their father's name, Vasudeva, in order to show disrespect to them. However, Saraswati made his voice dance in order to praise Krishna. By mentioning the words Nanda, bliss, and Rama, enjoyment, he indicated that these two were equal to avatars by having complete bliss as their quality. Krishna said with a smile, Order us as you please. Chanura said, Good fortune should be situated in your minds. Krishna said, How? The king is present. Chanura said, The king is present, desiring to give his merciful glance. Krishna said, True. Please instruct us what we must do. Chanura said, It's proper that you agree. If you are disinclined to fight, it will make us unhappy. Krishna said, Being forest people, we have not met persons of elevated conduct respected by the king's followers, but now we will follow your instructions and act according to that place. So Krishna was being very sarcastic. Chanura said, For now, do whatever the exalted king orders. Krishna said with feigned politeness, Best of wrestlers, please give the order. Chanura said, You should remain here and experience the happiness of playing with us. Krishna said, The king will take pleasure in seeing the playing of us children, but you will experience lamentation. Now you are laughing, but this is not proper for you, who are persons endowed with the king's authority. Chanura said, I swear to the honorable king, this is the king's order. Krishna said, How is that? Chanura said, You were not babies when you killed Putana. You were not boys when you performed pastimes like lifting Govardhan. You were not a youth when you killed the elephant, which looked like an elephant of the directions. Since you are so strong, the king will take pleasure in seeing us fight with you. And your elder brothers showed superiority in killing Pralamba and others. Krishna said, They died because without cause they showed hatred and sinful conduct towards us. Well, this is a very good point, actually, because when we become offensive or we turn against God, then we suffer in so many ways. Indra's pride was cut down spontaneously so the sacrificial festival could take place. We are just cowherd boys. Danica was an old bull infested with bugs. His skin was torn in trying to throw off various people riding on him. He crumbled when we just touched him. First, the elephant came to kill me. I fled in fear. The elephant drove its tusks into the earth to strike me and could not remove them. When the elephant pulled this way and that, the tusk broke and the elephant died. People have been looking thought that I was cause of his death. The manhouse died by being crushed under its feet. Do not think otherwise. You are, Chanur said, you are hiding your sinful acts by trying to show humility. The king is not unhappy with these events. He has sent you to persons having long lasting pride in order to curb their arrogance since they were useless for protecting him. He wants to exchange them for you too, only for increasing his own strength. So I'm going to stop here because this goes into the next the next verses. But here we see Krishna keeps telling them, we're just forest people. What do we know? But we'll follow your order if that will make the king happy. And then it goes into the great fight. And when I said I wanted to read about before was a point I brought up about how glorious are the cows of Vrindavan and the cowherd boys. So we know that at first, Mother Yasoda, we read about this, she didn't want Krishna to take out the cows and to go far away. But Krishna, being in the family of cowherders, his desire was so strong to go and bring the cows out. So then finally, during the month of Kartik, Krishna is given this service to be able to bring the cows out. Okay. There they gathered and separated the cows by making special sounds and never used a stick to beat them. There the boys became absorbed in decorating themselves, rejoicing and playing with Krishna and Balaram to produce a great festival. Each cow was like Krishna's life air simultaneously. When the cows were satisfied, Krishna was satisfied, and when they were hungry, he experienced hunger. He would bring them close to his chest, smell them with happiness, embrace them, search for them intensely, bring them together, feed them, and protect them. This made him appear more splendid. Krishna held the cows as dear as his life, and they became vacant-hearted without him, motionless like pictures, like trees standing all around. When they came to Krishna, they experienced bliss on smelling, seeing, hearing, tasting, and touching him. What is remarkable is that they were able to experience him externally using their senses. Krishna would call his friends, and they would call him. They would speak to him, embrace him, smell him, joke with him, touch his shoulders, and pull him. Let that be, but listen to something astonishing. One should understand that Krishna's friends never experienced difference from each other. So this is a beautiful relationship with Krishna, with the other cowherd boys, where they were learning to wrestle. Sometimes friends said Krishna and Balaram, and sometimes they said Balaram and Krishna. This was acceptable because they were both like Paramatma. Blissful because of the sweetness of their pure fragrance, non-moving and moving entities situated far away in Vrindavan began to serve Krishna and Balaram with devotion. The two brothers were the life of Vrindavan, giving joy to all entities, including devatas, by their extraordinary sight and touch. Attaining the highest happiness, they were most skillful in reaping results of pious acts. And that place, the flute giving happiness to all, made itself and other entities successful. A forest is not a forest without auspiciousness of playing, and there is no playing without auspicious songs. There are no songs without the sound of the flute. A flute which does not touch Krishna's mouth is not a flute. May that sweet music of the flute be heard on that day. Making soft sounds with his flute, Krishna, surrounded by singing boys of his own nature, produced various types of sweetness with Balaram. With a gentle smile, Krishna then entered the deer forest, which was like a close friend's heart. laden with taste beneficial for the cows. Acting as a most affectionate friend, surrounded by his sweet friends, Krishna embraced Balaram around his waist, using his hands, which were like buds, caressed by fragrant wind from lotuses growing in the forest. He became most excited to play by imitating the sweet sounds of the animals, beads, and birds. For special fun, with reverence and joking, looking around while smiling and observing with astonishment, he began describing the forest to Balaram. So we read about all this when we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. And here in Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami, we read these beautiful descriptions of Krishna Balaram going to the forest. And we know what's especially I've always found to be really, really beautiful is how when Krishna plays his flute, that the peacocks just become so ecstatic that they begin to dance. And when Krishna sees the peacocks dancing, he becomes more ecstatic. And so his flute's playing becomes more ecstatic. Then in his flute playing becomes more ecstatic. The peacocks dancing becomes more ecstatic. And so it's such a beautiful festival of joy. And then the peacocks, out of offering their love to Krishna, they ecstatically drop their feathers. And Krishna takes a feather, puts it in his turban, says, I will always keep your feather with me. And so then the peacocks become more ecstatic and they start dancing more and more and more. So it's this competition. So here at Chanura Mostika, they were making fun. Oh, you're just herding the cows. Little did they know what beauty there was, what bliss there was, what joy there is in Vrindavan. So I'm going to end here. And I just figured rather than hear me go on and on and on, why not hear from Jiva Goswami? And it's so we can enter into the actual mood. And really, when we read these pastimes, it's not just meant to make Krishna and Balaram enter the arena, but to just meditate on how beautiful they were dressed and how their turban was fixed and what color was their outfit and everything that they were doing. How did the blood look when it was dripping down their face? Of course, we don't have transcendental vision. Our eyes are covered by the modes of ignorance, and it's our visions are illusory, but still it changes our consciousness. Like I noticed yesterday, for some reason I was thinking I was going to be miserable, but then I decided when we're lamenting or miserable, it's contracted consciousness. So how do we uncontract our consciousness? So then I started reading about this and I got all excited. And then when I wasn't reading, I was listening to Marja's audio books. And then the next thing I knew, I forgot all the miseries of this world. I was feeling so excited because spiritual life is so blissful. It's so exciting. And when we're miserable, it's because our consciousness just becomes contracted by the modes of nature. So I recommend everyone, if they haven't ever read this Gopal Champu, to get a copy. I thank Diver. He brought the copy back for me from India one year. It's where? Really? I didn't know that. Gopal Champu. I thought it wasn't finished yet. Oh, it is actually also available as an audiobook. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Enam Kandam Maravindalaya Tartam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundaratam Kandar Shesha Shobha
Govinda Adi Purusha Aham Jami
Govinda Adi Purusha Namah Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namah Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakale Kriya Priti Manti Vasyanti Vikayanti Jira Prakanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vikrasya
Govinda Adi Purusha Aham Jami
Govinda Adi Purusha Namah Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namah Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namah Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namah Bhajami
Namaho Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacha Nivasesha Junyavade Vasachade Sarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Purnachandana Shri Advaita Pratana Chivatsadi Gaurata Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Pratana Chivatsadi Gaurata Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sade, Radha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Adi Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Radha, 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 Jai Sri Rahat, hey, Jai Om.
Nirvapanam Shreya Kairam Yachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Bharavijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bauda Nija Sarva Shaktis Atrapita Niyamita Smarana Kala Etad Rishita Pipa Bhagavan Numapi Gurdai Krishna Janada Pi Sunichena Chorora Pi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sada Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoita Ki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishamevam Bambuda Kripaya Padava Pada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadishim Vachintaya Nayanam Galana Shudaraya Varanam Gad Gadaridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahaneva Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Prahena Me Ashlishavapadam Ritam Rastumam Adarshanam Narmahata Karotuva Yatatata Bhavindatolam Mat Prananatastus Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen to the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, considering a moment to be like 12 years or more, tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastastika Ki Jai.